Hey my loves, what's up? For those of you that don't know me, my name is Crissanna, and if you're new here, then welcome, and if you're an oldie, welcome back. And yes, today I am barefaced naked because we are going to be doing a full face of Wet n Wild. So Wet n Wild recently released their Wet n Wild Bare Focus Clarifying Finishing Powder. I got mine in the shade Fair Light, so this comes with 4 shades on Ulta's website, and it retails for, I want to say, either $3.99 or $4.99. So this is pretty much what inspired today's makeup look. And then as I was shopping on Ulta's website, it said that these blushes were new. This is the Wet n Wild blush in the shade Pinch Me Pink. But after doing some research, I actually think these are pretty old. So I don't know why they were saying that it was new on Ulta's website. They also said this palette was new, My Lucky Charm. So this is their 5-pan color icon palettes. And I don't think this is new either because Amazon has had this for a while. So I don't know why they were saying that these new, maybe because St. Patty's Day is coming up and they wanted to relaunch this palette. I picked it up anyways, but we're not going to be using this palette today because I actually have another new palette by Wet n Wild, and I was happy that I was able to find this on Amazon. So this is the Wet n Wild Always Naked Eyeshadow Palette. I personally love Wet n Wild's eyeshadow palettes. I feel like they're one of the best formulas, especially for the drugstore. So first, I really need something on my lips. So I have this Wet n Wild, I think this is just a regular lip gloss. Yeah, this is the Wild Shine Lip Gloss Balm. I actually found this at my Dollar Tree and I've been loving it ever since. They also have a cherry one too. So for brows, I have the Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Micro Brow Pencil. So I have used this brow product for a while and I do have some thoughts. So I do love me a good micro brow pencil. So here is what the tip looks like, and then on the other side it comes with a spoolie. So again, I do love a micro brow, but this is almost so creamy that it almost can make a mess. I do like a creamy brow pencil, but I like something that's like in between creamy and dry. That way I'm not going to make a mess all over. So when I'm doing my brows, I actually start right here. But I mean, for the price point of this brow product, I want to say it's between like $4 and $5. I'm not really sure any of the prices. I'll have everything listed down below. So now that I have the ends filled in, I will just take the small tip and I'll just lightly start doing hair-like strokes. So I think that is pretty much it for the brows. But let's go ahead and jump in with the eyeshadow palette. So I think for the eyes today, I'm going to take the Wet n Wild Incognito Concealer in the shade Light Beige. So if you guys have not tried this concealer, I highly recommend. It is literally probably one of my favorite concealers at the drugstore. So I'm just going to take a buffing brush and just blend that into the lids. Once I've got the concealer placed on the lid, I'll just take a sponge and just dab that in. Go ahead and set this down because it is concealer and it will crease. I'm going to take the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Setting Powder. So for the eye portion, I'm just going to get up really close so you can see everything that I'm doing. So again, this is the Wet n Wild Always Naked Eyeshadow Palette. Look how pretty, you guys. A perfect nude palette. So this definitely reminds me of their Nude Awakening palette. Let me go ahead and pull it out so I can show you. Here is their original Nude Awakening palette. And then the Always Naked. So you do have a lot of similar shades. Not every shade is the same, of course, because the new one has a lot more shades. But they do definitely have some similarities. I think I'm going to take this one right here. So these don't have names on them. So I'm taking this on a big fluffy brush by Wet n Wild. So this is a neutral light brown shade, but it looks like it has like a yellow undertone. So let's just go ahead and blend this right up here above the crease. So it is very pigmented right off the bat, which is a good sign. So I'm now going to take this shade right here. The burgundy type reddish shades are usually my favorite shades to work with. So I'm still going to take it on that big fluffy brush. If I need to, I will take a smaller brush. But I'm going to blend this a little more into the crease, but still morphing it into the last shade. And again, this shade is very pigmented as well. So I'm going to go back in to the first shade. Just going to blend everything out. So now to really deepen up the outer V, I'm going to take this shade right here. And again, I'm taking this on another Wet n Wild brush, and I'm going to start lightly packing this right here on the outer V. And again, right away, you guys, super pigmented. So the shade is very dark. It's like a super dark brown, almost could pull for a black. Once more, I'm going to go back in with this shade, and I'm just going to go right up around the deep brown and bring it right into the crease. Okay, so let's go ahead in for some shimmer shades now. So let's first go ahead and take this shade right here. I'm going to pack this right here on the inner part. And again, I'm using another brush from Wet n Wild. This is a flat brush. So this shade is a lot darker than I thought it was going to be. For the middle toward the outer V, I'm going to take this shade right here. So this shade doesn't seem to be picking up as well as the last shade. So yeah, I'm not a super fan of that last shade we used, but the first one was really, really nice, creamy, buttery, applied really well. So since that last shade gave me nothing, I'm going to try and take this shade right here. This one picked up a lot better, I can already tell. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a way, way better shade. So I picked up a new eyeliner by Wet n Wild. So this is the 16-hour breakup proof waterproof liquid eyeliner. This is waterproof, cut proof, smudge proof, humidity proof, and fade proof. So I actually thought this was going to be like the old one I had. The old one is the Wet n Wild Pro Line Felt Tip Eyeliner. So even like the size difference to the one I had is very small, and then the new one is really big. So Wet n Wild does not do eyeliner stamps, and to do a wing, I need an eyeliner stamp. So I'm just going to take this one by iMethod Beauty. I'm going to go ahead and do the eyeliner stamp off camera, and then when I come back, we will use the eyeliner to do the line on the top. So I went ahead and did the winged eyeliner. So let's go ahead in for the Wet n Wild liquid liner now. So here is what the felt tip looks like. So it is really small, which I love working with small ones like this. Kind of nervous, but I'm just going to do a thin line right here on the top. So first off, this eyeliner seems very flexible, which I personally don't like. I like something that is more stiff, but I'm going to get down in my mirror and I'm going to finish doing this, and I'll come back and show you once I've got it on. Honestly, guys, I really love how this formula is so pigmented. It's so black. It's so easy to create a line with the pigment. I don't really like the tip on it because, again, it is very flexible, and I need something that is stiff in order for me not to make a mess. Like, it took me a long time to do that line because I have to be very careful, because if not, my hands are very shaky and I could completely make a mess. But other than that, it is very, very pigmented. So for lashes, I'm going to take the Ardell Demi Wispies. I know Wet n Wild makes lashes and they sell them at the Dollar Tree, but their lashes absolutely suck. Like, they are pure plastic. So I'm not going to use their lashes, but I'm going to go ahead and apply these lashes and I'll be right back. All right, guys, lashes are on. So let's go ahead and jump in with the face makeup now. I know that this is always my favorite part, but for the eyeshadow, I love the shades. I think they're pigmented, but the shimmer shades did not apply great. But one good thing about them is they didn't have any fallout. Like, even though the pan had kickback, there was no fallout. The shimmer shades had no fallout, which is a really good thing. So the first primer I want to go into is the Rose Water Photo Focus 3-in-1 base. So you can use this to set, refresh, and to prime. And it does make my face feel, I wouldn't say like super oily, but it definitely makes it dewier. So I have two primers that I'm debating on using. I have the Wet n Wild Glass Correct Primer. This is supposed to brighten. It has crystal-like skin and it has vitamin C. So I got this last year when this first came out, and I've tried it only one time, and it was that time, and my face was so greasy, and I wasn't sure if it was from this primer or if it was something else that day. But I also have the Wet n Wild Water Drop Primer. So I do want to take the cucumber one just because I haven't tried it yet and I want to see like how it's gonna apply. So this is a revolutionary cream to water formula. It hydrates and locks down moisture, blurs the appearance of pores. Oh my gosh, you guys, it like falls all over the place. I can't even show you. So let's go ahead and apply this. And again, it feels literally just like water on the skin. So for foundation, I think Wet n Wild only has a couple different ones. They have the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Foundation. They have this in regular and matte. Then they also have their tinted hydrator. So for today, I do want a little bit more coverage. So I think I'm going to go in with the Photo Focus. For years, I really, really enjoyed this foundation. But it was always like at the end of the day, my makeup just like moved all over the place. And it was kind of just like a mess. Even when I set it down, I just felt like it moved around, but I liked it because it was full coverage and it was very affordable. But now that I've gotten into like so many other drugstore foundations, I rarely ever reach for this. So this is the shade Rose Ivory. This is a light cool shade. I'm going to take the Wet n Wild sponge. But yes, I feel like if you don't set this down with a powder and a setting spray, it is gonna move around your skin so bad, which I think it does that already, but I feel like if you don't set it down, it's like worse. But I mean, it does blend into the skin fairly well and really, really fast. And it's definitely covering up. It's not covering up this pimple right here in the center, so I might go in with concealer to try to hide that. I need a little bit more because I can still see a lot of my acne peeking through. So I'm just gonna add some in the places where I need it. So to cream, contour, and bronze my nose, I'm going to take the Wet n Wild dual-ended contour stick. It's a lighter shade for concealer, and then it has a darker shade for contouring and bronzing. So there is what the shade looks like. I'll go ahead and swatch it. Anytime I've used this, you guys, I was not fond of it. NYX makes one almost just like this, but it's a little bit more expensive. But I don't know, something about this, it's just a little bit too warm for me. So for concealer, I'm going to go in with the Wet n Wild Incognito again, like I did on my eyes, but this is in the shade Fair. Guys, as of right now, I'm loving how the base is looking. It looks very smooth and very flawless. For this sponge, I'm not really sure how I feel about it just yet. I do like that it has like this kind of a flat side here, but it is kind of hard to get up here under the eyes. So just to set around the T-zone, I'm going to take the Photo Focus setting powder. So this setting powder, you guys, I think it's like $6, and you're going to get 20 grams of product, which is a ton of product. So if you want your makeup to stay in place all day under your eyes, I recommend using a sponge to press in the setting powder. I'm not going to be doing a whole lot today, so I don't really expect my makeup to be coming off. If you're wearing like a mask or anything like that, you probably want to use a sponge. I also have the new finishing powder to try out, and again, this is in the shade Fair Light. So Ulta has a translucent shade, they have this shade, and then they have 2 more shades as well. So here is what it looks like. What I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to use this to set the rest of my makeup. I'm just going to take this big powder brush by Anastatica, and I'm just going to start kind of tapping this into the skin. Usually when I would use like a powder or something like this, I would just tap a little bit and then kind of set the whole face. But I do kind of want to see if this has like color or anything like that to it. So as I'm putting my brush into it and I'm tapping, I'm not like getting any kickback. I'm not sure if it's picking up product. I can see a little bit on my brush, but other than that, I can't really tell. So now that we have the face all set, let's go ahead and with powder products now. So I'm going to go ahead and contour first. I'm going to take the Wet n Wild contouring palette. So this has a highlighting shade for under the eyes and also has a contour shade. I will be bronzing as well, but I do want to contour a little bit first. So I'm just going to take, once again, another brush by Wet n Wild. But I love this Wet n Wild highlighting contour palette. It's a really, really good palette. I'm also just going to take a small angled brush, and I'm going to use this shade to contour my nose. So I'm actually going to grab just a tiny bit of this lighter shade, and I'm just going to pop this right here just to kind of brighten up those under eyes a little bit. So now to bronze up the skin, I'm going to take the Wet n Wild bronzer in the shade What Shady Beaches. This is a very well-loved bronzer. I've been using this for quite some time, and I always resort back to it. This shade is a little too kind of deep for me, but I still can make it work, and it's very, very pigmented. I'm kind of going to go right over top of the contour. And then again, for blush, I have this new one, or at least Ulta claims that it's new, and this is in the shade Pinch Me Pink. Again, this is the shade. So this does have a little bit of sheen to it, not like over shimmery or anything though. First glance, this kind of looks like the NARS Orgasm Blush. Okay, y'all, that shade is beautiful. I love this blush shade. So for highlighter, this is the only one that I have from Wet n Wild. It's in the shade Golden Flower Crown. I would love to have maybe like a lighter shade because this is a little bit too dark for me. I have the SpongeBob one too, which that one is like literally pure freaking yellow. So I really don't like using that one. But if you're deeper than my skin tone, this would definitely probably work for you. But I know that Wet n Wild has one shade that is like lighter than this one. I'm gonna take a small pencil brush for my Cupid's bow and my nose. So I draw up the lines of my Cupid's bow. And then I also draw right here too. I'll do a dot right here at the bottom of my nose. I'll do a line right down the center. So before we go back in and set the face and all that, I want to go back in with the eyes and finish the lower lash line. So I'm going to take a petite eye blender brush. For the lower waterline, I'm first going to take this shade right here. I'm not going to be too precise with this, just want it on the lower lash line. And then to be a little more precise, I'm going to take this flat brush by Jaclyn Hill. I'm going to go back into the deepest brown shade we used. And again, I'm going to tuck this right up under the lash line. Let's go back in with the first brush and blend that out. But for the inner corner, I really want to take this shade and I want to see how it applies. So it's this one right here. It's really pretty and shimmery in the pan, but I'm not exactly sure how it's going to look on the eye. Well, bam, in your face. Holy crap. You guys, that is a beautiful, beautiful shade. Given how the other shimmer shades picked up, I was not expecting that at all. Really, really pretty. Definitely got a lot of fallout with this particular shade. So I have two setting sprays with Wet n Wild. I have the Wet n Wild All Day Wear Photo Focus Setting Spray. This is probably one of the first setting sprays I ever bought. And then I have the SpongeBob one, which I love the SpongeBob one. I feel like out of both of those, the SpongeBob one definitely keeps my makeup in place a lot better. I'm going to take the SpongeBob one today. So next up, I have this new brow gel from Wet n Wild. I don't think it's like really new, but it's new to me and it came out last year. It's the Wet n Wild Brow Obsessive Brow Shaping Gel. So I buy it in the shade brown. I've heard mixed reviews on this. Some people love it, some people hate it. So here is what the wand looks like. It is a super petite small one, which I definitely prefer. Let's go ahead and set the brows down. I mean, your brows might always look good as soon as you set them down, but throughout the day, they could get very hard. And different things could happen to where this might not actually be that good after wearing it for a while. So for mascara, I'm taking the Wet n Wild Big Pop Mascara. So I tried this last year when it first came out and I've only used it a couple times since then. I'm not like, I don't even remember how I actually felt about it, but here is the wand. So it's a huge wand. Because the texture on this is so thick and so wet, it can get very messy very fast. Alright guys, so the last step we have to do for this full face of Wet n Wild makeup is go in with the Wet n Wild Mega Last Stained Glass Lip Gloss. And then I also have the Gel Pout Lip Liner in the shade Gaunt Burgundy. So I'm going to swatch them side by side to see if they're going to be a match. Because if not, I have a bunch of the Wet n Wild Gel Lip Liners. So yeah, I think they'll be a decent match. I don't think I have the perfect lip liner to pair with this, but I think these will work pretty well. I like these lip liners, but they are very creamy. Again, like the eyebrow pencil, they're just so creamy that sometimes they can be very messy. So when I'm using a creamy lip liner like this, I do not overline my lips just because if I do, it goes from overlining to really overlining and then being really messy. And I'm just going to take the Glossy Lip Stain and put it right in the center. So this is definitely way more of a red shade than I thought it was going to be. The reason I specifically picked this one is because it looked more of like maybe a red pink nude, but it looks really, really red on the lips. So it completely took off all of the lip liner I had on. I probably shouldn't even have went in with a lip liner. This would have probably been good in itself. But right off the bat, it feels very, very glossy, very lightweight, kind of like the LA Girl ones, whereas the ColourPop ones that I've tried dry down almost immediately with no lip gloss shine. Alright guys, so there we go. Here is the finished look using a full face of Wet n Wild. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys a close-up. So guys, honestly, I pretty much loved everything we tested today. There wasn't one thing that I really disliked. So as for the eyeshadow palette goes, I really enjoyed this, you guys. I think this is a perfect palette, especially if you're a beginner and you don't have a lot of palettes in your collection. I think this would be a nice one to add. It comes again with 16 shades. Yes, I would 100% recommend this. For $10, I think it's an absolute steal. And for the foundation, I actually really love the way my skin looks today. It looks super soft, super airbrushed, and it is full coverage. I'm not really sure why I stopped using this. Again, I think it's because it just always was so dewy that it kind of slid all over my skin. But I think setting it down with the finishing powder and the loose powder and setting spray, I think it's really going to keep it intact, and it looks very pretty. Guys, I think that is everything for today's video. What are your guys' thoughts? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section below. Also, do you guys have any of these products, and are any of them your holy grails? And yeah, if you guys ended up liking this video and you guys want to see more videos like this or more one brand tutorials, give this video a big old thumbs up, and please subscribe if you haven't already. If there's anything at all that you guys want to see next, please let me know. And yeah, I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for sitting here and hanging out with me today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye guys.